We got the Big Ten schedule at 9. We got the SEC schedule at 8. Big Ten schedules and SEC schedules 2024. It's really the start of a new era in college football. Really, it's the start of a new beginning, new teams, new blue bloods, both in the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, everybody was clamoring for a 9-game conference schedule. Man, a 9-game conference schedule in a 16-team conference is buttery smooth. It just works. It just works. But here's the thing with the SEC. They're a lot like Notre Dame. They can do whatever the heck they want, and there's little to no consequences. Right? For years and years and years, Notre Dame, you're independent. Why don't you just go and join a conference? Why don't you just do this? It's so easy. Because they didn't have to. Just like the SEC doesn't have to play 9 conference games. We know why it benefits the SEC to play 8 conference games. More teams that are bowl eligible, more teams that have the ability to get to the college football playoff, and you're still recognized by ESPN as God's gift to college football, as the greatest thing walking around today on the college football earth. But here in Big Ten country, we know something a little bit more. We like to think that maybe we are a little bit more educated on some fronts in terms of this matter, but they don't have to do anything that anybody tells them to do because they are the kings of the castle. They are the ones that have won the national championship games. So they can do whatever they want to do. Now, here's the thing about the SEC schedule. Everybody's going to play Texas or Oklahoma in 2024. And the SEC only unveiled the 2024 schedule. Okay? When we saw the Big Ten scheduling announcement, we saw what the model's going to look like. Here's the teams you're going to play. Here, they kind of explained everything. Here's the home games. Here's the away games. Here's how we got to it. You know, they talk about showing your work, right? In math class when you were growing up. The Big Ten showed their work. The SEC just said, yeah, here's the 2024 schedule. Let's get hyped about Georgia and Bama. Let's get hyped about Texas and whoever they're playing. Let's get hyped about Oklahoma and whoever they're playing. But what we didn't talk about is how we got to that point. In an 8-game schedule, things can get a little bit messy. I want to pull this quote from a CBS Sports article from the SEC. While no school will travel to the same location it traveled to in 2023, talking about the SEC schedule, it should be noted that when a long-term schedule format is determined, it may not be possible to structure a schedule that does not include some schools playing at the same location in back-to-back years in the first year of a new format. So not only are things a little bit messed up where 8 games, it doesn't fit nice and buttery smooth like that 3-6-6 model that the Big Ten has, but Mississippi State could be playing at Alabama 2 consecutive years, kind of drawing the short end of the stick. You know, the more I kind of look at what the SEC has with this schedule, with this 8-game conference schedule, the more I really dive into it, I think they're going to cater this schedule to make it fit what they want, to get a team into a national championship game, to get a team, get more teams into the college football playoff, to get more teams bowl eligible. Now, if they were to do things nice and easy, nice and fair, everything's the way it is. Like, let's take a look at a team like Alabama, for instance. Alabama has historical rivals. 3rd Saturday in October against Tennessee, Iron Bowl against Auburn, and of course LSU. 3 protected rivals. You take out yourself, that's 12 more teams. In a 8-game conference schedule, you already got 3 on the books. You're going to play 5 one year. You're going to play 5 the next. That's 2 teams left over. So the Big Ten schedule is like you play every team every 2 years at the bare minimum. The SEC, you could not play a team for 3 years. And the way they kind of schedule this, they're talking about percentages, winning percentages, losing percentages. There's a chance you might not play a team for 3 years. There's a chance you might not play a team for 4 years. And I think they're going to make things like right now, Georgia and Bama are playing in 2024, but how many more times is that going to be played over the course of time? Whereas Ohio State and USC are playing every other year. I think the SEC is going to do what fits them and what benefits them to get in, not necessarily explain to us what the model is or what it's going to look like from year to year. I think they're just going to do what really benefits them on their level from an 8-game conference schedule. Now, the SEC, like I want to say, the schedule is strong. There's no doubt. 2024 has got great games all across the schedule. And the SEC still is going to have it's going to have one of the best, maybe the best conference schedule, which can be argued, but it might have some of the best games on the calendar in 2024. But here's what I hope happens when we get to the 12-team college football playoff. Okay, you got the Big Ten playing 9 games, a lot of 9 conference games, tough teams, whatever. And then a lot of teams are playing a Power 5 non-conference opponent. That's 10 Power 5 games. And the SEC is playing one less Power 5 game. It's a scheduling requirement for the SEC to play their 8 league games and then play a Power 5 team. I want to see the selection committee take that into consideration. When you're considering a 9-3 Wisconsin against a 9-3 Ole Miss, take into consideration that Wisconsin had to play the one extra conference game. In that scenario, they would have one extra conference win against conferences that are in the same ballpark, the Big Ten and the SEC, at the top of our beloved sport of college football. I really hope the College Football Playoff Committee really takes that into consideration. Now, that's when you talk about which schedule means more, I think you got to look at it from a college football playoff standpoint. In order for the Big Ten schedule, I think, to mean more, I think Wisconsin's got to rise up. Nebraska's got to rise up. Iowa has to remain good. Minnesota, you kind of keep on going down the line. These teams need to continue to get better. USC and UCLA need to still be really good football teams, and Big Ten teams probably need to knock off some SEC teams. I mentioned UCLA and Georgia have a crossover. Wisconsin and Alabama, that's going to be very difficult for Big Ten teams in those two particular crossover games. But I believe the Big Ten schedule, as we continue to go on, I think it's going to be a tougher schedule to get through a conference in the Big Ten than it is the SEC. That's what I believe. To get through the schedule, right? You don't have that break late in November for the SEC where a lot of these teams are playing FCS teams. 9 games, Big Ten, most of the time, consecutive games all the way through is going to be probably the toughest stretch in all of college football. I firmly believe that.